I am ready to introduce our next fantastic speaker, and she is a first-time speaker here at BSidesTLV 2021. Aluma, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Aluma. Yes, please give her an applause. Now we join her here. Cheers. Aluma and Inbar are sharing a chaser, which is a long-time BSidesTLV tradition, followed the tradition of hacker conferences from around the world. So Aluma is a cybersecurity and malware researcher at CyberArk. I think malware researchers are some of the coolest people I know because they can talk to malware and understand things that, I went to a malware reverse engineering workshop once, and I just have such a respect for the work that you do. Well done, Aluma. And actually, she has a really cool fun fact. You will never guess, but Aluma's life goal is actually to travel all around the world and take a picture of herself taking a handstand. That's incredible. I can't take a handstand even without traveling the world, so I can't even imagine. I should try it, definitely I will. Maybe you can teach me. So today, Aluma is going to talk to us about malware in Golang malware. Aluma, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for coming. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm Aluma. I've been working in information security world for the past 7 years, and I currently work at CyberArk Labs. I like to say that by day, I'm a malware researcher, and by night, I'm also a malware researcher. And I'm here today to talk to you about Golang malwares. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether the snobbler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. These are only a few of the lines that I found inside a Golang malware. And I'm here today to tell you why do we care about that and how can we as defenders benefit from that. Go language, aka Golang, has been released 12 years ago, and since then has become one of the most popular languages around. Many programmers say it is the new Python, and they prefer it because it's easy and simple to use. And like the programmers, so as the attackers, which many of them are now transforming to writing their malwares using Golang. And now that I've confused you with some random colorful malware names, let's continue. So what's so special about Golang malware? Is there an actual difference between a malware written in Golang and a malware written in any other language? Well, yes, and very. Golang is statically linked, which means that it has all of its import functions inside of it. Instead of having an import table and call function that's in the system you're running on, then if Golang imports a package, it also compiled with the package in its binary. In addition, the assembly that consists a Golang program is much different than any other language. Because Golang is supposed to be fast, then it doesn't bother to push the arguments into the stack and to clear the stack after the function returns. So when you're opening a Golang malware in IDA and try to look at its assembly, you won't see any push and pop commands, which makes it kind of weird for a malware researcher who's used to analyze any other malware. So until now, I talked to you how much Golang is good for the attackers and bad for the defenders, but that's not, but that's not the subject of this talk. At the rest of this lecture, I'm going to show you actually how Golang is good for the defenders and how we as defenders can use its properties for our benefit. Today, everything is open source, right? Open source is fun, is cool. It helps you to share your code with the rest of the world. It helps you to contribute to projects that were written by people you don't even know. And Golang, as being the modern and updated language it is, obviously has to use some open source. And indeed, Golang uses a lot of open source packages. Now, if you write a program in Golang, then you'll most probably want to use some open source packages. because there are tons of them, and they're very easy to find. Actually, there are some websites that are destined only for this purpose, for helping you find the proper package for your code. Now, not just you, but also the attackers would use many packages for their code. It saves them a lot of time and effort. Well, there's a catch, because whenever you're using a package in your Golang code, then the name of the package appears in clear text inside of your binary. And whenever you're opening a Golang malware or any Golang binary, you could see the entire list of names of the packages that were used by the malware. Well, OK, that's fine, but what else? So because Golang has so many different packages, because it's open source and anyone can write their own packages, then the odds that two malwares or any samples would have the exact same set of packages and they won't be related to each other are very, very odd, very, very small. So what we can do with this information is we can take our malware, get the list of the packages, which is very easy to do, and then combine a very simple YARA rule and sign it to find some other samples that are related to the same attacker. Again, the odds that we will have a false positive and have a different sample that's not related at all are very, very small. And this is only because Golang used packages, and it handed us a weapon to find some other like it. Let's talk about timing. Well, if you are here, then if you are a malware researcher or an IR investigator or maybe APT hunter, then you know that you must have the timing of your attack, which means the timestamps of the tools that were used in the attack. Timing is very important. You need it to understand when did the attack happen, or to understand the difference between different tools. Or if you're researching a large attack group, then you'll want to understand what tools came before what, and what new functionality does the malware have, and also the evolution of the group, which results in the new functionality of the malware. Anyway, timestamps are important. Well, if we're dealing with Windows PE files, then this information is mostly easy to get. We actually have this information inside of the PE structure. You just go, as you can see, this is one example, obviously. You can go to the NT header, then the image file header, then there is a small field, but useful, which results in the timestamp. It's very easy to just open yourself the file and get this information, and also you can use one of the any Windows tool you like, such as PE Explorer and CFF Explorer, any other. Well, that's fine. But what about Linux file? As you all know, with the increasing usage of cloud servers today, so is increasing usage of Linux malwares. Then we, as defenders, as malware researchers, we need to have the same set of tools that we have for researching Windows for Linux. Well, there is a small problem that Linux files, ELF files, do not contain the compilation timestamps in them. Some of the compilers actually do, but not all of them. Well, we need that information. That's where actually Golang come in help. So let's go back. We said that Golang contains some packages. Now, if we take a good look at those packages and we'll search them in GitHub, then we can see that most packages have different releases. Well, that makes sense, because whenever you're uploading your code to GitHub, then you'll probably want to update it from now and then. So every package almost have different releases, and each of these releases has its own release date. So this is a date we can use. If we can understand what release of the package was used in our malware, then we can get the release date, which is a minimum date for our malware to be compiled, because obviously we can't use a released version that wasn't released yet. Well, that's great, but we said that I can understand the package that was used. How can I get the exact release? Let's think about it. I can, search for a string that tells me, hi, I'm released, and they're on, but that's not a very good idea. So what other differences are there between different releases of the same package? That's right, there are functions. Because obviously, when you're updating your code, then you'll add some more functionality, therefore some new functions. So all we have to do now is get the list of the functions of the package from our malware. And again, because Golang is statically linked, then we have this information. And compare this list of functions against the different releases of the package. And then we can see that some of the functions were added in the second release. So we understand that the release date of this release is a minimum date for our malware. All we have to do now is do the same process for each of the packages that is used in our malware, and then combine this beautiful table up here. And then all we have to do is just get the latest of those dates, and this is the possible, earliest possible date for our malware. And this is information that Golang helped us to get, because in other language, we wouldn't be able to get this information for a Linux ELF file. Now let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, in one bright, shiny day, I came into my office, I put my bag in my seat, I went to the kitchen, made some cup of coffee, said hi to my friends. Then I sat down, opened my PC, opened the findings I have from yesterday, uploaded the IDB. Back then, I was researching a Golang malware named Kinsing. Now, back then, I already had some good idea what's going on. I had some pretty nice findings, so I was kind of cool. But then I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything important. So I opened the strings window in IDA, and then a strange and long string just popped up to me and caught up my eye, and that was this string. Now, for any of you who doesn't recognize, this is a line from the Hamlet play, which was written by the great almighty Shakespeare. Well, this is kind of strange. So I tracked the offset of this line, and then I found this, which is the entire text of Hamlet play inside of Kinsing malware. And this is kind of how I looked when I saw it. Well, after laughing about it and joking about it with my friends, I started thinking, OK, why? What does it do there? And I started digging in. And I saw some researchers from other companies who've already seen this evidence. And most of them were like, OK, so it's probably maybe to increase the size of the file or to make investigator thinks it's, I don't know, a Hamlet play inside an ELF file. I don't know. Anyway, all of them said that the purpose of Hamlet being in Kinsing malware is to hide the malware, the fact that it's a malware, or the malware functionality. Well, that didn't make so much sense to me because there are so many way better ways to hide your malware. So I kept thinking, and actually I came up with a different idea. Now, let's take a quick break. Please raise up your hand, any of you, who has ever downloaded an open source tool and run it in your computer. It can be any script, it can be any Python tool, any whatever, including me, actually. Great, thank you very much. Now, please keep your hand up if, whenever you're doing that, you're checking the code that you're downloading and making sure that it does just what you think it does and only what you think it does. Really? I would like to talk with you afterwards. Anyway, most of us don't. I specifically don't. Everyone I know doesn't. So let me tell you something. No one ever checks the source code. No one. I've never met anyone, if I would like to speak with you and with everyone who does. Well, it's not just you guys and me. It's also the attackers who writes the malware. So when I kept researching and digging in, I saw that there is a code that's actually referencing this Hamlet play. So I went to this code and I tried to figure out, OK, what? And you can see the snippet from IDA right here. But that code isn't of the program itself. It's actually of one of the packages that is used in the malware. And when I went on and I tried to understand the package and like, what the hell, I went to the package in GitHub, and then I saw this. The package that is used in the malware is packager package, which is written by Mark Bates. Now, look at its path. We can see that inside of the packager package, you can see that there is another GitHub package, which was written also by Mark Bates, which is named HEPA. Now, this is not a normal path of a package in GitHub. Now, let's look at the code. This is the code from the HEPA package. Now, you'll have to excuse me for not putting here the entire code of it. It's kind of long, but come and trust me about that. This is the code from HEPA, and what it does is simple. Let's say, for a hypothetical scenario, that you have written a very cool script for, let's say, maintenance your AWS servers or Azure resources. Well, you have your script, and it's cool, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, but you need to enter your credentials into it, because when you want to access your remote resources, you obviously need to authenticate. Now, those credentials might be a password, they can be a token, anything you'd like, but it is probably hard-coded in your script. Now, let's say you want to share your awesome script with the rest of the world, and you want to upload your script to GitHub or any other website. Well, then you have to go line by line and make sure that you didn't forget any of your passwords in it. Now, what HEPA package does, it's kind of cool, actually. It's loop through your code and make sure that you didn't forget any password there. It looks for strings that looks like password or credentials or token or username or any of that. And then it replaces your password with a random phrase from Hamlet. Think about how cool it is when you're downloading a script that's meant for AWS servers, and then you find like to be or not to be inside of the script. Kind of cool. The next question you're going to ask me is, OK, cool, but why would a malware use it? That's a great question. Thank you. But actually, it doesn't. Well, the Kinsing malware, as we said, doesn't use this code. This code is just a part of the package. And let's go back. We said that here we have the HEPA package inside of the packager package. Well, this is a mistake. And I know that because no other version of the packager package contains the HEPA package. And only a few days after this release was released, Mark Bates released a new version of the code, which does not include the HEPA package. So what happens, I guess, is that when Mark Bates programmed the packager package, by mistake, he had also the HEPA package inside of its repository. And then he uploaded them both. And bad luck, but when the Kinsing malware author downloaded the packager package, he also downloaded the HEPA package, and without knowing it, inserted it into the malware. So until now, it's a fun story, right? Like the malware author, by accident, inserted some full play into its malware. But what can we do with this except for making laugh and fun with friends? Let's think about it. Well, now I know that the malware contains the Hamlet play, right? So I can get some Yara rules, and they're actually very simple Yara rule. I can get a Yara rule that contains some of the Hamlet text, and then try to search from some other samples related. Well, believe it or not, it's working, and I got like 30 more samples of Kinsing just with this signature. But now you're going to tell me, wait, but in the beginning of this lecture, you said, let's use the packages for signing. So why use also Hamlet? Well, you're right again. Thanks. So this is not very interesting, because we have better Yara rules. What else? Let's think about it. We know that the author of the malware doesn't check the code that they're using inside of the malware. Well, it means that we can put there any code we'd like, and it would run inside of the malware. Let's say we have a package that does something, and the malware wants to use this package, but then the code in the package actually does something else. Well, I can't expose here what we did or didn't do with this information in CyberArk Labs, but I think you can imagine it for yourself, and you can think by yourself of the enormous world of possibilities that just opened up to us. So we've talked about the packages in the Golang malware that helps us to sign it very quickly and very easily. We've talked about the timestamps issues that Golang actually helps us to get the timestamp of a malware, even if the file itself doesn't contain it. And we've also talked about the huge world of people who doesn't check the code that they're running, including the malware authors. So I'm not going to tell you if you should write your malware with Golang or not. That's up to you. But if you do, make sure you're not making the life of who's ever hunting you much easier. Thank you very much.